Hello, everybody, and welcome to the SIG Cluster Lifecycle bi-weekly meeting. Today is Tuesday, September 22nd, 2020. I am your moderator, facilitator, Justin Santa Barbara. I work at Google. A reminder, this meeting is being recorded and will be put on the internet, and so therefore, please be mindful of our code of conduct, which boils down to being a good person. There are a moderate number of us here today, so please try to use the hand feature. I'm on the web, so I will try to observe, but I think we can just generally self-police. There is an agenda. There's an agenda document. I will paste a link in chat if nobody has beaten me to it. Please do add your attendee, or please add your name to the attendee section and any group topics or public service announcements you might want to. We will go through any group topics where there are none currently, and then we will go through the various subprojects and do callouts on those just to roll up status. I am filling time to see if anyone adds a group topic, but I don't see anything on the agenda. If there is anyone that would like to introduce themselves, please feel free to do so now, or if there are any other group topics that have not been on the agenda, please just chime in now. Otherwise, we will move to project callouts. Okay, I don't see anyone unmuting themselves, so I will walk us through the sub-project callouts. First on the list, Fabrizio, do you want to tell us about KubeADM?
Hi everyone. So quick update from KubeADM. We already started the work for 120, and the first things that we are tackling, thanks to Ruboni, are a set of deprecation, like for instance dynamic kubelet config, self-hosting, and customize, which was replaced by JSON patches, and also a graduation. So we are going to graduate KubeAdmin Alpha Cert to KubeAdmin Cert, given the feedback received by the user on this functionality. And also, last meeting, we had an agreement to start working on a new roadmap for KubeAdmin. This new roadmap targets a set of pending problems like add-ons and component config, but also tries to better shape the roadmap to get an operator in place to provide better support for GitOps style, for in place cluster mutations, and also to during this way to tackle the introduction of a KubeAdmin library. And yeah, any feedback idea, if you have any feedback idea or concern about KubeAdmin, it is the right time to put them in an issue, or to make them somehow to make them known to the maintainers, because we are starting to sketch this roadmap.
That's great. Thank you, Fabrizio. Any questions on the KubeADM readout? I have one if no one else does, which is where is that roadmap being built, or how can people participate?
We just had an agreement. The work has to start. Probably we will start with Google Doc, and but we have to decide the detail in the next meeting.
Cool. So the next step would be to attend the next KubeADM meeting.
Yeah, otherwise I will report here next week.
Wonderful. Thank you. Oh, for anyone that's confused, as I was, I guess 2 weeks ago we did not have time for sub-project readouts, and so that is why we have a pre-filled out section. And so Fabrizio, you have the next topic also, which is Cluster API.
Yeah, I can give also an update on Cluster API. Cluster API, basically, we are working to get release v03.10 ready. Probably we will get a first RC by the end of the week. The most there are many small changes in this release. The most relevant one is that we found and we solved a memory leak in the cluster resource tracker, in a workload cluster tracker, which is basically a cache that is created for every workload cluster, a cache that basically contains a client for every workload cluster, and basically the problem was due to controller runtime, which was not handling very well a client get created and destroyed, and so on. So the real problem was fixed in controller runtime. Then we picked up the new version of controller runtime, and along the way we also implemented some code improvement around how this cache is managed.
Wonderful. Any questions around cluster AP? Brian has a nudge. The cluster in chat, Brian says, do you want to mention the cluster CTL operator discussions?
Oh, thank you, Brian, for remembering me. So we are, in parallel, we are starting discussion for what will be in V1 Alpha 4. And one of the topic that we started is the idea of having a management cluster operator that basically will allow to manage in a declarative style or GitHub style the management cluster itself. So you can basically apply provider, add provider, delete provider in a declarative fashion. And we had a first meeting about this thread, and the discussion was very interesting, and we defined the scope of the operator. Basically, the operator is in charge of the providers and all the prerequisites to get the provider in place, like for instance, Cert Manager, while we decided to keep out of the scope of the first iteration of the operator, the cluster templates, which are basically the workload cluster and all the operations that are affecting the workload cluster, like for instance, cluster cut or move.
Wonderful, thank you. And I guess the appropriate next step there would be, it looks like there's an issue open, which is, I think it's 3427, but I think the next step would logically be to attend the Cluster API meeting on Wednesdays for people that are interested, right?
Yeah, for sure. The next step agreed on the meeting was for me and Warren to try to submit to the community in a Google Doc a first version of the API, and so we can start iterating fast on the Google document. Basically, we are starting to work on a cap in incremental fashion, and maybe I should link the document here. The API part is not yet there, but it will get soon. I have to meet Warren after this meeting for another iteration.
Thank you for that update. That's exciting stuff. Any other questions for Fabrizio around Cluster API? Okay. Looks like I have the next sub-project update for CUPS. The biggest, I guess, cross-project news is that we actually managed to do a community or a maintainer release, as in a member of the community or a maintainer was able to do a release and get it mostly pushed without requiring too many magic scripts. There are still some magic scripts and special permissions that need to be run, but we are making progress on getting to the working group K8s infra. And I think the publishing of containers and releases of containers is now fully automated there, and the remaining pieces relate to legacy locations, i.e. the locations we used before, and to non-container artifacts, so binaries like the comps binary itself. But we are getting much closer. Otherwise, mostly just business as usual. Are there any, it feels a bit weird to do this for myself. Are there any questions for me around comps? Otherwise, yes, we can move on to Daniel. Do you want to tell us about etcd ADM?
Thanks. Update is that so the COPS uses a project that Justin has been working on for a while called etcd Manager. And part of the roadmap of etcd ADM was to get this etcd Manager orchestration layer into the etcd ADM repo, and eventually combine the two, make them work well together. And so a huge part of that, for the first step has just happened, thanks to Justin, who's merged the code in, and got past all of the speed bumps along the way with the CLA and various issues. So big thank you for that. And that's I think the update for now. Sorry, you're supposed to.
You can do the awkward any questions for Daniel thing. Try it.
Any questions about etcd ADM?
All right, thanks for your help getting that merged, Daniel. That was awesome. Next up, it looks like Sharif. Do you want to tell us about Minikube?
Yeah, so 2 weeks ago we released 1.13.0 in tandem with Kubernetes 1.19, and then yesterday we released 1.13.1 for Kubernetes 1.19.2. Y'all were really fast and released 2 like back to back. So we should fully support that. The focus for the next little bit here is going to be stability of our integration testing infrastructure. We've been having issues with that, and it's sometimes reflected poorly on the releases. So we're going to take a step back and make sure that their releases are something that we can be proud of. The other detail is that we've been having there's a whole saga with our Zoom office hours, and Lubomir restored it, and so we have one now, but no one can share their screen. So I'm gonna talk to him about that just privately, but huge pain in the
butt. We do like the screen you're sharing in the background, whatever that is. It looks like fun. Any questions for Sharif around Minikube? Okay, that is the last of our scheduled sub-project. Thank you, Sharif. That is the last of our scheduled sub-project readouts. I don't know if there are any other sub-projects that want to give an impromptu update or any other updates. Otherwise, if there are, Mosh.
Yes, I don't mind giving one for Image Builder. So we have moved to new office hours, and we have been having office hour calls with a few more people recently. So we are getting a few more people on board. I've onboarded a couple people in my team. I know VMware's also onboarded quite a few people. So that's kind of the update from our side. The CLI is moving along quite nicely. And then I noticed, we were kind of nominated for KubeCon Deep Dive, I think, in the last office hours or Cluster Lifecycle meeting. I'm looking at the meeting notes, and only Lubomir and Tim were there. So I think they nominated us to do it, but they're not on the call today. Maybe catch them offline. I just wanted to confirm that we were actually doing it, and it's not something that's still to be done.
I can. Other people may have a better recollection. My recollection is that we were basically unsure around which projects would benefit from a session. The downside being that as a virtual KubeCon, it is a little different from it's a different experience from a physical one. I think that's fair to say, and whether you would want to. But yeah, I agree that following up on Slack is probably the right thing to do. My guess is that if you feel like it would be valuable for your project and you want to, that would be great. You do have to like pre-record a video.
Cool.
But yeah, following up on Slack just to confirm that and make sure that we got the requests in would be good. I can't remember the deadline. I think it's coming out very soon though.
No, I think it's passed.
Yeah.
It's passed, yeah. So,
okay, so hopefully we did that, yes.
I just don't want to do the recording and then find out that we did the work for nothing.
Good call. Although the way things are going, you might be able to recycle it for the next virtual KubeCon.
Yeah. Cool.
Thank you for that update. Any questions for Moshe around Image Builder? Okay, any other sub-projects that I may have overlooked or may not be on the list? Any other topics that anyone would like to bring up? If not, we can draw this meeting to a slightly faster than normal close. I do encourage anyone that hasn't seen it to look at the SIG survey results that are linked from last time. It is a good survey, which shows some interesting data about how our projects are used. And if there's nothing else, then I guess we will end the meeting early, give everyone half an hour-ish back, and say thank you very much to everyone for the updates and for attending, and to see everyone in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thanks for hosting, Justin.
Cheers.
Thanks.